Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's Renee, the Happy Transgender Kabbalist. And today is Sunday, the 4th of August, 2019. And it is in the Hebrew calendar, it is the third day of the Hebrew month of Av in the year 5779. And I'll give an explanation of why I mentioned both dates in a moment. But first, I'd like to say a blessing that I've heard not only my priest where I go to church, but also the many people who share thoughts, the blessing they say before they get started. And it comes from Psalms, and it is in the 19th chapter in the 15th verse. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Shalom. Okay, wow. A lot of things. But I want to draw your attention to, first of all, I've posted a couple videos, and I'm going to talk briefly about them. One is a Zohar lecture, Zohar being the book of illumination, with the authorship traditionally being known as Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and gives insights, more of the hidden meanings of what's going on in the Bible. And the next video that I put up there is, I think, by Rabbi Bar Sidok, and talks about religiosity. And then I think the last video I put up was from a gentleman by the name of Rabbi Zacharias, who I really don't have a lot of knowledge of. In a way, he seems to be maybe like some kind of a Christian apologist. I don't know. But he had some very interesting insights on being transgender and dealing with this in your life. So I'm going to start there because it's probably the shortest, and I'll go from the shortest, work my way backwards from what I just listed. But Rabbi Zacharias was asked about, this idea of transgender. And he said that the important thing is to invite God into your heart. And he recognizes the fact that there are many people on a very broad spectrum of gender identity, not just the binary male-female, male to female, female to male, that's captured so much attention. But now there's a whole slew, for lack of a better word, of gender identities. You can be non-binary. You can be, there's a lot of different things. And I'm not going to try and even begin to list them all. But the point is that he realizes through his faith that this is such a hard trial for people. And he invites you to invite God into your heart. And not necessarily to make the decision based on some religious doctrine or something that's written in Leviticus specifically, but that to trust in God, which means then to trust in your heart, trust in your gut, that inner voice. That's God speaking to us, at least in my estimation. And I take ownership for all the things that I say and my opinions. I am not a teacher of Judaism, Christianity. I'm just here to share my experiences and maybe put someone on a path that will make their journey lighter today. So that being said, I think it's an important thing. Whatever your higher power is, which is kind of a lead-in to the next little, it's a segue into the next video by Rabbi Bart Sadok. And he says, don't get caught up in the religiosity and of things, or the dogma or the doctrine. That does not make you a holier person. And 9 times out of 10, just because someone has the name PhD, Reverend, Rabbi, they are not the end-all, be-all authorities on your spirituality. You have a personal relationship with your higher power. And I had attended the Unitarian Universalist Church for years in Florida, and they recognize that it's important for you to worship God in a way that is connecting to that higher power for you. And just a little side note, it's not a political dig, but just to show you, like mainstream religion will tell you that America was a Christian nation founded by Christians. Well, that's kind of true. The majority of the signers of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were Unitarian Universalists. And this is why one of the very first things in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights and so forth, is that the government shall not establish a religion, because they understand that everyone has a different journey, everyone has a different pathway. But I digress a little bit. But I really like Rabbi Bart Sadok. You can find him on YouTube, Kosher Torah School. And he puts out a daily dose of things for you to chew on or think about for that day. The next thing I want to talk about is the Zohar lecture by the rabbi there. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but it's Kabbalah TV. It's on YouTube, and you can tell by the video. You'll be able to track his lectures down if this one interests you. So many times there's so many confusing things when you're reading, especially in the Old Testament. And one of the confusing things is when God tells the Jewish people, the Hebrew nation, to go out and slay the Midianites. Really? Just go out and murder them? Just kill them where they stand and leave them where they lay? Well, if you look at the Peshat, which is the literal meaning, yeah. But if you look at the deeper meaning, and one thing that I have understood on this journey of Kabbalah, is that the Torah, or what we call the Bible, only speaks of higher spiritual things. It's only cloaked in allegory of this world, because it's the only way it can be described. How do you describe something that you've had no experience with? You can only relate it by analogy to something you do have experience with. So anytime the Torah talks about anything, it's not talking about anything of this world. It's talking about things in the higher spiritual consciousness that hopefully your higher power will draw you toward a deeper understanding other than just the superficial. But Rabbi, in short, just goes in to say, what are the Midianites? And the Midianites are, according to the Zohar, are our judgments. Things that we form opinions about that block the spiritual energy from filling our life, having us love one another like we love ourselves, to love the Lord our God with all our heart and all our mind and all our soul, which Jesus said are the two greatest commandments. The first, love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your might and all your soul. The second, to love your neighbor as yourself. And when we form opinions about things based on popular culture, it blocks that flow of light that comes to us. And the thing is you want to slay those judgments. You want to get rid of them because they're blockages to the light that you can draw. Right now, we're in the 9 days of awe, or I think it's the 9 days, something along that lines, but in the month of Av, and culminating on the 9th of Av, 6 days away, a very powerful week. And people associate this with a lot of negativity. Don't travel, don't get married, don't start a business, yada, yada, yada. This is a great time to channel the light correctly and get married or start a business, at least in my opinion. Now, I'm only stating my opinion. I'm sure there's many rabbis that if any rabbi listens to this, they're probably like, oh my gosh, shut up, just hit the stop button. But I'm beyond the point of no return, so I won't do that now. But the point is there's an abundance of energy right now. And the problem is that people don't know how to direct that energy. And so, yeah, things happen. 2 temples get destroyed. Many, many horrible things happen because people are overwhelmed by an abundance of energy or light from the Creator. And so instead of being superstitious about it, be proactive about it. Now, one of the ways that you can allow more light to come into your life and use that light to love your neighbor as yourself and to love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your mind and all your soul is to get rid of your judgments about people, places, and things. You may have an opinion. Hey, you know what? Transgenderism or being transgender, it's not for me, but I don't hate nobody because of it. Because I am commanded by God or your upper power. And I mean, I say God, but your upper power to love your neighbor as yourself. Don't hold on to a judgment, especially a negative one. I read in the writings of Baha Salam that we're to judge everyone favorably. Because just because we can't see something good about that person doesn't mean that to other people they're not a great person. Point in case, our president. I have no judgment of our president because he has a family that does love him. There are people who believe in the truths that he espouses. And he's there because there was an energy created for him to be the leader of the United States. And I form no opinion about him. There's things that confuse me, and sometimes I have trouble processing it, or to me it seems hateful or spiteful, but then there's other things that are good. So, you know, I don't want to hang on to negative judgments. I'm only shooting myself in the foot. It blocks the light. If I get rid of my judgment about the president, then maybe I'll see him in the light that the Creator wants me to see him in. One without judgment. So, you know, I don't like to get political, but I think that's one of the easiest analogies that people can understand. It's like either people love this man or they hate him. And we are commanded to love our neighbor as ourselves. He is our neighbor, and not only the president of the person who holds the office of the president of the United States. So we should hate no one. And remember, every judgment you have about a person, a place, or a thing is an impediment to drawing light. And so get rid of it. It serves you no purpose. And I'm going to kind of conclude my remarks so I don't just ramble here. But those are the things I wanted to talk about. Was invite God into your life and let him walk with you, or you walk with God. He doesn't walk with you. You walk with God in all the trials of your life, no matter what it is that's hard to decide, not just your gender identity. And don't get caught up in religious dogma. And do yourself a favor and get rid of your negative judgments. And I guess in 16 minutes, that's all I was trying to say. I want you all to have a beautiful day and a beautiful week, and I will see you all again soon. Shalom.